Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In this week's video, we're working on these 32 Ford chassis. As we ended last week's video, we have one side of the exhaust done on Brenda's Roadster. We're waiting on some more stainless steel pipe and elbows and stuff to finish the other side. We actually measured up the drive shaft for this car, so that potentially could come in this week. And then also I talked about solving the problem of going from the clutch master cylinder to the slave master cylinder. There's a fitting I'm waiting on. If that comes in, we'll charge that up and get that going. Also, again, if the handle comes in for the emergency brake, we'll work on that. I've ordered up some parts to work on the brake lines for the Camera Ladies Roadster over here. And then also on the Camera Ladies Roadster, we built the headers before. But the one thing that I didn't do was actually put the final collectors in when we go from, I went from two on each side down to one, and then we're doing two at the bottom into one. So like a tri-Y style exhaust or headers going into 2-inch pipes. So that's something I got to work on. So lots of little things here. I probably missed a few other things, but whatever comes in, I'm going to work on. Whatever I have here, we're going to kind of push both of these projects forward. But anyways, follow along with us this week and we'll see where we get. Well, I'm back working on the exhaust on Brenda's Roadster. This time we're going to do the passenger side and not going to do the pie cuts like I did before. We're going to try and weld in a bunch of like 45s and 90s, which I'm having a little more success with. My welding skills are coming up a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can see it there or not, but almost got some fusion welding there too, with not as much filler. And then at this point here, we're welding stainless steel into carbon steel. So this particular joint here has just got a MIG weld onto it. It's just much easier and quicker to do. But all these here, we've got TIG welds on them. Bring it out to this point. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to make a piece of pipe much like I did on the other side there. So we're going to have a joint here and a joint there. So there's going to be a piece going all the way along. There'll probably be a little kink into it at that point. Got a 45 here, a 45 there, and then we're going to go into the muffler. So I think I have enough pipe in order to do that. We picked up some more joints. We've got some 90s. And we've got a U-bend, and we've got a little bit of pipe and 145, but that's all we got to work with for now. There's 2 more pieces of straight pipe coming, so we're going to be able to finish the exhaust in this episode, but nevertheless, really giving my TIG learning skills a bit of a boost here kind of thing. So what I'll do now, like I said, I'm going to work on the straight piece with a couple 45s into it, and then hopefully get the muffler connected for the next step. There's the second piece there. Made it with 3 welded joints. So basically straight pipe all the way along here. Welded a 45 in there. And this piece here was actually part of a bent 45. So I had a straight section. Then I had to weld a straight section in here. So we got 3 welded joints. TIG welding is still improving, but it's still got a long ways to go. I mean, everything is sound, everything is good, but going well. And now basically we've got to come out of the back, got to do the 90 degrees up, 90 degrees over, and so on and so forth. Still have got quite a few pieces here, so gonna make an attempt at that a little later on. The only thing is I'm running low on argon gas, and I'm not sure how far I'm going to get on this today, so I might have to go get some more gas before we get any further with it. But anyways, we're making progress. We've got 2/3 of the way done. Since I got to wait a couple days to be able to go into town to get some argon gas, it's the weekend here, and unfortunately the gas company that we get the argon and CO2 gas from, they're not open on Saturday or Sunday, so we got to move on to something else in the meantime. So what I decided to do is make up some of the hanging brackets. Now, the hanging brackets can be made of just carbon steel. So I've made these up. Basically just some rod and some flat plate and drilled some holes into them. And what I'm going to do now is I'll take the rubbers off of them and put a coat of paint onto them, but essentially the plan is to locate them, the first one, like that, and then I'm going to weld a rod onto the stainless steel exhaust once I get some more gas, and then in the back do a similar thing, but what we've got this double rubber one which actually gives lateral stability, so that is going to be located right there, and then I'll put a stainless steel rod onto the exhaust. These I'll drill and tap hole. The back here is this cross member I think is 3/16 thick, so it's quite thick. I'll be able to drill and tap that one. The one in the front over there, I'll probably put a bolt through it, or put 4 self-tapping screws in place, one or the other. The other thing I've realized is that the flex line here, I'm going to have to take this and relocate it on the bottom of the back and move it a little more out of the way of the exhaust. So anyway, that's one of the things, you're building hot rods. I mean, if you've done the exact same chassis over and over again, then you know what to do each time. But, you move along as you can and adjust as you need to. So I'll carry on. I'm going to paint those brackets and I'm going to move that flex line underneath, and then we'll get those attached and we'll be one step closer to putting the hangers on the exhaust. It's Monday morning here. It's a holiday here in Canada, November 11th, Remembrance Day, so I still can't go get my welding argon gas to keep on working on the stainless steel exhaust. I did manage to get the rest of the tire changes done. You can see through the door. My truck was the last one to do, so it's all done. So that area now is freed up to start bringing in the 58 Ford cab that's still sitting outside. I think what we're going to do is we're more than likely going to get the rotisserie. I think I'm going to put that on the rotisserie because I've got to work on the bottom and the bottom of the cab corners and whatnot. So in the meantime, I really can't do too much today because it's raining outside. I don't really want to bring everything in the rain. So what we're going to do, we're going to switch gears and start working on the exhaust headers for the camera lady's Y block there. So previously what we did, we made the headers, but I didn't do the final collector. So the biggest issue for me was kind of getting the exhaust pipes routed around the starter, having access to the spark plugs and the bolts, the header bolts. So succeeded on both of those fronts. But now what I've got to do is connect those last 2 pipes into a collector going into a 2-inch pipe. So on the passenger side, I have this configuration, which I think I've got to drop a little lower to go under the frame. And then over on the driver's side, I basically stopped them right down there. So we've got to make a right angle turn on both of those and come back. So one thing I played around a little bit, and I think I have a solution here. So if I take some 2¼ inch pipe and I can beat this basically around so that I can weld those 2-inch pipes in there. So that's my first step of doing the collector. And then what I realized, I've got these pieces left over from doing the stainless steel pipe. This actually fits in that hole quite neatly, so I can weld this. I'll probably trim this up quite a bit, and then I'm going to weld it in place there. And then that way, the 2-inch pipe comes straight into here. So that's the plan right now. I'm going to start taking those apart. I'll show you what I do as I go. I may not do a time lapse or something like that, but I'll stop often enough to show you what I've got done, and hopefully we can get those exhaust headers turned into collectors. So I have to put these on the floor so I can show them on the video. So what I did, I added in a section right here to drop the exhaust 4 inches. I added in a section right there, and I added in a section right here, which then dropped the whole headers 4 inches so it clears the bottom of the frame. This medium section here was the collector, which I took. It's a piece of 2¼ inch exhaust pipe that I ovaled it out, and then I welded the ends of these 1.5 inch exhaust pipes together, so you got like a figure 8 there. And then, like I said, This section here was a piece of 2-inch stainless steel exhaust pipe that I cut off some of the other exhaust on Brenda's Roadster, which now allows me to basically fit 2-inch exhaust pipe in here. So I've had this on and off a couple times. I'm going to put it back on here and I'll show you a couple seconds how it fits, and I'm happy with this side. There are the headers on now, so I've got 2 bolts holding it in place. Don't need much more to basically mock it up. And then if we look down here on the floor, we can see that we now clear the bottom of the frame. We're not below the transmission pan, and basically the bottom pipe is kind of in line with the sump, and so we're not going to be dragging anything. We got enough clearance with the frame. There's one spot there, it's about 3/4 of an inch clearance over to about an inch span, which is that's a non-issue. I've got other exhausts like that, and you don't melt the paint. It's not too hot, and there's enough airflow underneath the car. So now I'm going to be able to, at least on this side, we would then be able to run the exhaust towards the back. So next up, I'm going to go over to the other side, and the other side needs a little bit more. Because I didn't finish the bends at the bottom. I brought them together right there. So I've got to basically bend them towards and come down towards the back and then clear the master cylinder. It's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter collector, so that the exhaust will probably come up to this point. The collector will probably be around here. And just because the headers are swooping to the front, but that's no problem. We'll get this side done here shortly too. There's the first step done on the driver's side exhaust headers. So essentially this piece here I had to remove, because in order to weld this piece on here, you basically have to take it off, and then you have access to weld it all the way around. Once you have those 2 welded together, then you can go back up here, and then you can weld back around up here. So I've just tried these on the engine, and it looks good right now. Both pieces are coming out the right direction that we need to go around the, like in the case of the Y block, there's actually an oil pump. Here, I'll show you that we have to clear. So the Y block has an oil pump external to the oil pan, which is not what we're used to with most of the modern V8 engines. But so I have to navigate around that. So I've got them twisted out a little bit. So right now, the next step is going to be to take, again, a piece of 2 1/4 inch pipe, and I'm just going to basically kind of beat it flat, and then make like a figure 8 style, so that I can weld this on here just like I did the other side. So we'll get that done, and then of course I'll get a collector from the pile here that I cut off, and we're going to do basically the same thing. We're going to going to shape the end of this to weld on here, and then cut this off and shove it in the end and make the final collector. So there's the first step of making the collector. So essentially I put it over here on my stump, and then use my one of my body hammers here. It's got a rounded edge, and basically kept it on the edge here and just kept beating it until I kind of flared out the ends like that. So we've got a reasonably good fit right now. If this were stainless, I'm afraid it would take me days to do it, but this is actually mild steel. It's a little heavier. It's a little heavier aluminized exhaust pipe. I didn't cheap out and buy the cheapy stuff, so I'm not sure what thickness it is, but right now it's got a pretty decent fit. Gonna do a little bit of trimming there, and then probably weld that in place. I might try and flare these edges out just a little bit more. It doesn't really matter on an engine that's as powerful as this. It's a stock 272 that we're putting in there, so it's not like I'm going to be choking it out too much, but just the same, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and flare those edges out just a little bit more before I weld this on. But that's how I made the collector. There is the finished header for the driver's side. I did flare out these edges just a little bit more. It's not perfectly aerodynamic, but much better than what it was before. And then like before, I welded this end off of another piece of 2-inch pipe so that I can fit my 2-inch exhaust pipe inside here and then put my clamps around it. So I've trial fitted it in there once already. It looks good. I'm gonna basically dummy it back in there and prepare for getting the exhaust kit. I haven't ordered it yet for the camera lady's car, but I will. I'm more than likely gonna be buying, I think I'm gonna be buying just the aluminized one. I've had an aluminized one on my Model A for 9 years now, and it's not even coming close to being needed to be repaired. I mean, you got to think with these hot rods, we put 2,000-3,000 miles on them per year. Most of the time, they're not out in bad weather. We keep them in heated garages. I mean, they're going to last a long time. I mean, I also, when I do my exhaust, I usually coat them with very high temperature paint, so it gives them an extra level of protection. These headers, the plan is to put very high temperature white paint onto them, or if I can get them ceramic powder coated white, that's what I want to do. I want to have that old school hot rod look when they painted their headers white back in the day. That's kind of the look we're going for. So I'm just going to bolt this on here, and then we're going to carry on to the next thing. It's Tuesday afternoon now, and still don't have all the parts in to keep on doing some work on Brenda's Roadster and the Camry lady's Roadster. Waiting on a few more brake parts to come in to start working on the brake lines. And then with Brenda's Roadster, we're waiting on some stainless steel pipe. I did go in and get the argon gas so that I could continue TIG welding the pieces that I have. So in the meantime, what I decided to do was actually bring in the rotisserie here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start setting up the rotisserie so that I can bring in the 58 Ford cab and then mount it to the rotisserie. So all the tire changes and brake jobs are done and everything. And what I also decided to do in the meantime was that the camera lady's Roadster body was sitting right over there. So we did some juggling over in the other garage, decided to take the hot rod out, and it decided to rain. Beautiful rainbow showed up here afterwards, but the hot rod got a little bit wet, and I did some juggling in the back of this garage. I turned around the International Roadster and I parked the camera lady's Roadster right behind it. So we're going to keep these two bodies over here while we get some work done over on the other side. And then, of course, the lawn equipment is all jammed in one corner, but we're all nice and safe and got some space and whatnot. So what I'll do now is we'll get the hot rod stuff back in here, and we'll move some stuff around in that garage so that I can then bring the 58 Ford cab in there and start getting it hooked up onto the rotisserie. Well, that's the exhaust for Brenda's Roadster all done. We got the extra pieces in late yesterday, and I started working on it this morning. We've got this side all done, up and over the rear end and sticking out. Everything is welded in place. I've got the rubber biscuits or rubber insulators, whatever you want to call it, in place. My brackets are bolted to the frame, and then we've got the stainless steel rod welded on the exhaust. So we've got, since we've got two posts on the back, we can control the lateral movement in the back, and then in the front, I put a single insulator there, so there's no movement in there. And then in the back, we've got an equal distance. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I measured anyway. There's, maybe the camera can't show it right, but we get equal distance there, and with this, we've got the same clearance between the pipe and the bottom of the gas tank. See, hopefully it looks still good. Yep. There it is there. It's the same distance. Now, one thing that happened was that the location of the rear flex line, I originally had it located, it was located up here. So it was getting a little bit too close to the exhaust. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to locate it up underneath here. Sorry, right there. And then I've got enough brake line so that I don't have to redo the brake line. I just have to relocate the location of the flex line to make sure that it never touches the exhaust, that it actually stays a little bit closer to the spring. Anyway, we got the right clearance here. It's not a high performance car, so the exhaust shouldn't get too hot. Just an old flathead, not old flathead, but a refreshed flathead with a no stock cam into it. It's going to have a Holley 390 4-barrel on it later on. So that kind of wraps up the exhaust on this. I'll fix up that flex line, and then hopefully my plan is to pull the 58 Ford cab in here before the end of the video. There it is. We finally have the 58 Ford cab in the shop. We're back to having 3 projects here. Tire season is all done, so like I said, we finally moved it in. I was going to do a time lapse of it coming in, but I started to really struggle with the dollies out there in the gravel. It was taking forever, and then when I put these rubber wheels onto it, it was in. So anyways, you didn't get to see me struggle with it, but it's in the shop now. We do have these rotisseries, as I mentioned. These are some pretty heavy-duty units. They're on loan to me from a friend of mine. I think I can probably put my F-150 onto it and rotate it by the looks of things. But anyways, we're going to get, in future episodes, we're going to get the 58 Ford cab attached up to the rotisserie. And if you haven't seen it before, this is a project that we were asked to do by the owner of the International Roadster. His intention is to make this into a patina hot rod, not a rat rod. So what he wants done is he wants the floors and the front floor mounts all restored. He sent along a lot of the sheet metal. We may not be doing any fabrication, but more kind of restoration work, installing the sheet metal, but we'll see how it goes. So he wants it completely finished on the bottom. And then once it's all restored on the bottom, it's going to go back to him. So anyways, watch along. Future episodes we'll be doing this. And then in this week's video, we finally got Brenda's exhaust all done. We got the hangers on, everything done up. A couple delays there, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. And then over on the Camera Ladies Roadster, we got the collectors put on the headers. So on the Camera Ladies Roadster, the plan next is actually to buy an exhaust kit, much the same as we had for Brenda's Roadster, put that all in, and then get all the brake lines plumbed and everything else. So unfortunately, it's a repeat of Brenda's Roadster, but that's what we kind of have to do here. So we'll go through that. It'll be a little of the same, but anyways, like I said, that's what you've got to do when you've got 2 projects the same. So anyways, that's, one thing I failed to mention is this stump here. Some of you know what it is or why I have it, and some of you don't. I had somebody ask me about it, but I just went out to the wood pile. I got this stump and hollowed out this section here. What I intend to do is make it a little bit bigger, so kind of make it like a shrinking stump, so to speak. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's for basically forming sheet metal and shrinking some edges and stuff. If you want some more in-depth knowledge on how to make one of your own, if you don't have like a log or something, check out Karl Fisher's YouTube channel, Jap Hands, I think it's called. He's on the West Coast. He's got some wicked tutorials on how to shrink metal and hands-on stuff and that. That's where I learned some of my stuff from, but it's pretty useful. And the thing is, if you go ahead and you beat it up too much, you just refinish it and off you go. But useful tool in the shop. Anyways, that's it for this week on Coldstream Rod Shop. Please like, share, tag, and subscribe. Come back next week and see what we're up to. Everybody take care and have a great week. Hi everybody, don't know if you know it or not, but we do have some Coldstream Rod Shop t-shirts for sale. We have them in sizes medium to double XL. The t-shirts are in soft cotton. They're printed, they're in soft cotton. They're printed in 3 colors. You've got the Coldstream Rod Shop Model A on the front coming, and you got the Coldstream Rod Shop on the back going. So it's printed on both sides. If you're interested, they're $40 shipped within Canada or the US. So just reach out to us on one of the emails or through Instagram or Facebook that will flash on the screen. Again, Coldstream Rod Shop t-shirts for $40 shipped within Canada and the US. Thanks.